lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother, made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia.
In the great hallways of Buckingham Palace, where tradition whispers through velvet drapes and duty clings to every gold-framed portrait, something unprecedented has occurred. It was not a public scandal. It wasn't originally leaked to the press. But beyond those historic walls, a bitter feud erupted between two of the most powerful figures in the royal family, Queen Camilla and Prince William. What began as subtle tension has now escalated into full-fledged royal warfare. It did not happen during a huge state event or in front of the public. No. Years of closely controlled diplomacy were destroyed at a routine secret royal gathering, which sources now describe as anything but routine. Heated words were spoken, lines were crossed. Respect, long corroded by whispered resentments and back-channel politics, eventually gave way to rage. The king attempted to mediate, but by then it was too late. In the days that followed, the House of Lords, the most powerful body in British governance, took an unprecedented step, engaging in an internal royal affair rarely seen by outsiders. Following urgent sessions and confidential testimonies from palace insiders, the judgment was clear. Camilla would lose ceremonial privileges and be barred from participation in crucial royal functions for the rest of her life. For the lady who had fought her way from public derision to the title of Queen Consort, it was a spectacular and very public fall from grace. So how did we get here? How did Camilla, once protected by King Charles and guarded by decades of institutional fealty, confront the future king and end up exiled from the very throne she battled so hard to occupy? More significantly, how does this affect the monarchy? Because this was more than simply a personal feud. It was a generational conflict, a legacy reckoning, a final loud pronouncement that the monarchy's destiny would no longer be fashioned by compromise and whispering, but by the firm, resolute hand of a son who never forgot his mother and who had finally had it. This is the complete account of the startling battle, the explosive aftermath, and the unprecedented ban, which has already been dubbed the start of a new royal period. Welcome to the moment when the crown changed forever. It did not begin with a shout. It began with a glance. Those who observed the now infamous private party claimed that animosity between Prince William and Queen Camilla had been smoldering for years, quietly, respectfully, and barely beneath the surface. But on that fateful day, the temperature finally reached boiling point. It only took one wrong comment at the wrong time to spark years of hidden wrath into royal fire. Behind the Sandringham estate's marble columns and floral arrangements, an apparently regular family meeting was convened to plan impending ceremonies. The king, weary and increasingly disengaged from daily matters, sat quietly watching his wife and eldest son exchange their customary chilly niceties. But there was a difference this time, an edge to William's words, a coldness in Camilla's grin. According to various palace aides, the spark occurred when Camilla made a throwaway remark about modernizing the monarchy's public image, which included discreetly downplaying Princess Diana's involvement in future royal storylines. That was it. William, who had previously suffered Camilla's rebranding attempts with gritted teeth, couldn't take it any longer. He interrupted her mid-sentence. Initially, everything seemed calm. Then use extra force. According to sources, his voice stayed calm, but his remarks were everything but. "You don't get to rewrite the past because it makes you uncomfortable," he told me. "My mother's memory is not yours to manage." Camilla, apparently shaken, shot back, accusing William of disrespect and questioning his authority. Her following words, however, are said to have lit up the room. "Your mother was a complicating factor. I am the queen." Those 8 sentences broke the little diplomacy that remained. William rose from his chair, flushed. Aides say he didn't yell because he didn't have to. His tone was controlled, but his rage was undeniable. "You may hold the title," he remarked, "but you'll never have the crown like she did, and I refuse to let you poison what's left of it." The hush that ensued was deafening. Even King Charles, who is normally the arbiter of family disputes, appeared frozen, torn. His 2 most crucial allegiances, his wife and his son, had finally collided in public. and there was no going back. Camilla left the room shortly after, accompanied by her longtime attendant, but she may not have imagined what happened next. A formal report to the Privy Council from a top royal advisor outlining the exchange and charging gross violation of royal decorum. Within 48 hours, reports about the confrontation reached members of the House of Lords, and what had previously been private was going to become horribly public. But none of this occurred in a vacuum. The battle may have erupted in an instant, but the animosity that fueled it had been building for years. William never forgot how his mother, Princess Diana, was treated, or who contributed to her heartbreak. He never really embraced Camilla's presence, even though the palace carefully crafted a narrative of unity. Behind closed doors, he saw a different Camilla, astute, calculated, and more determined to wield silent authority over royal affairs. Their relationship was always transactional, tolerated for the sake of the monarchy, but never warm, never trust. And now, as William stepped deeper into his role as future king, the leash was released. He was not going to let the institution that had shattered his mother's peace continue to shape the kingdom unabated. Not on his watch, not as his children watched everything unfold. The showdown was about more than simply the past. It was about who gets to define the future and who no longer belongs in it. The gloves were off. The heir has spoken. Camilla's fallout had only just begun. The drawing room was supposed to be a peaceful, intimate spot nestled deep within Clarence's house. But on that particular day, it became a battlefield. There were no cameras. There are no crowds. Just mahogany-paneled walls, thick velvet drapes, and the hushed, tense tension of a disastrous family reunion. In the center of it all, Prince William and Queen Camilla, two powerful individuals who had avoided one another for years, were eventually forced to face up. It started with a small group of senior royals and aides meeting for what was supposed to be a normal chat about future engagements. On the surface, things seemed quiet, but behind it, tensions had already risen. Camilla had lately made news for organizing secret meals with political leaders, which some interpreted as a subtle bid for influence. Meanwhile, William had grown increasingly dissatisfied with her growing influence over palace decisions, particularly those involving his children. The true source of contention that day, however, was Princess Charlotte. According to sources inside the palace, Camilla made a veiled statement about Charlotte's fitness for her rising public position, which William and Kate had been painstakingly training her for. The Queen Consort supposedly stated, "Perhaps she's not quite suited for the spotlight. It is a burden, after all." It was subtle. Fake concern is cloaked, but William understood what that meant, and he wasn't going to let it go. The room went silent. William sat forward in his chair and asked in a measured tone, "Are you implying that my daughter is unworthy of the future that was taken from my mother?" Camilla tried to dismiss it with a smile. "Of course not," she replied. "I'm only stating that not everyone thrives under pressure. Even Diana struggled." That was it. A match had been struck. According to those present, William was standing, and once he did, everything changed. "Don't you dare speak about her like that," he continued, his tone angry but restrained. "You're not allowed to use my mother's name to excuse your being here. You were not picked by the people. You were tolerated, just barely." Camilla's expression hardened. She too stood, looking him in the eye. "Do you think I wanted this life? You think I didn't pay for it? I've done everything I can for this family, including cleaning up after your brother's messes." William did not flinch. "This is not about Harry. This is about your persistent attempts to move this family away from its principles and rewrite its legacy. My children will inherit this crown, not your name or desire. And the next time you come near them with your poison, it will be more than just a talk." For a brief period, it appeared that Charles might intercede, but he did not. He sat, lips drawn into a line, eyes darting between his wife and son, paralyzed. According to reports, the aides present attempted to end the meeting in order to calm the gathering storm, but the harm was done. Camilla walked off, her feet resounding along the marble corridor, asking that someone remind William who the Queen is. But William was not done. After Camilla had departed, he turned to his father. According to reports, the following remarks he said startled everyone. "You can call her Queen. I never will, and I will not let my children believe she earned any of this. I've been quiet for years, but that's over now. Within hours, word of the confrontation reached high-ranking members of the royal household. Not just chatter, but formal accounts, statements, transcripts, and just like that, the walls that had kept Camilla safe since her marriage to Charles began to crumble. The final straw had broken. A royal battle had escalated from whispered tensions to open conflict. And behind those thick doors, the monarchy's destiny had been rewritten. Not by vote or edict, but by a son standing between his mother's memory and the woman attempting to obliterate it. What happened beyond the palace gates could have remained a royal secret, just another buried scandal, if not for the House of Lords' response. Because, while the monarchy is rooted in tradition, the British establishment has its limitations. Camilla had just crossed a line, whether from arrogance or error. Murmurs began to circulate in Westminster shortly after Prince William and Queen Camilla's argument. The tale was now being leaked by members of the nobility, backbench peers, and even moderate loyalists, rather than palace insiders alone. The story was not about an unfortunate misunderstanding, but about Camilla overstepping her responsibilities. Again, whispers became pressure. Letters were sent. Quiet sessions were held in the Lords' red-carpeted halls. Within a week, an official investigation was initiated, which had not occurred since the scandals involving Princess Margaret. This time, however, it was directed at the Queen Consort herself, rather than a mischievous prince. What's the charge? It is not criminal, but constitutional. Several lords, including Baroness Eaton and Viscount Colville, reportedly contended that Camilla's actions were dangerously destabilizing, particularly at a time when the monarchy could not afford additional division. She allegedly exploited her influence, attempted to manipulate royal succession optics, and most damningly, disregarded the future sovereign's bloodline. Lord Trefgarne, an old-school monarchist who rarely speaks to the media, was overheard saying, "She is not the queen by birth or history, but solely by tolerance," and she torched it to the ground. What ensued was nothing short of historical. A closed-door emergency meeting was called, an extremely unusual step. Representatives from Buckingham Palace were privately invited to provide background, but none attended. A resolution was drafted behind the scenes, and by the end of the week, an unusual motion had been passed by committee. The language was courteous but clear. The House shall no longer recognize Queen Camilla as an acceptable representative of the Crown in formal matters of state or public ceremonial affairs. It was not a formal dethroning. That power belongs solely to the monarch. But make no mistake, it was a political exile in full view. Camilla was effectively barred from attending any events involving lords, hereditary peers, or state council representatives. While the royal family attempted to keep the news quiet, the statement leaked within hours, causing an earthquake throughout the media and the country. Some attempted to downplay it. Aides to King Charles maintained it was a procedural clarification, but the people did not buy it, especially after it became evident that this was the result of Camilla's rising difficulties, not only with William, but also with Princess Anne, and even elements of the armed services who had objected to Camilla's recent behavior during trooping the color rehearsals. Even more remarkable was the palace's quiet. There is no response. There is no word from the king. Camilla's typical media partners did not launch a well-planned public relations campaign. It seemed as if the royal machine had finally concluded that Camilla was not worth defending. Even long-term royal commentator Hugo Vickers admitted, "We've never seen such a public condemnation delivered so surgically. It is not treason, it is not exile, but there is a message, and the message is simple: enough." The impact was immediate. Camilla's public events were abruptly canceled with no explanation provided. She was absent from a charity event in London, a state banquet with foreign guests, and her own foundation's annual fundraiser. Behind the scenes, she is reported to have been livid, feeling betrayed not just by the lords, but also by Charles, who failed to intercede. One aide allegedly heard her scream, "They have humiliated me," and he simply let it happen. However, no one came to her defense. Not this time, not after the fallout. The House of Lords, long regarded to be a ceremonial relic, has just made one thing quite clear. It retains power. Camilla, they believed, had abused hers. The monarchs has tolerated her for many decades. For the first time, it pushed back. In the days following the House of Lords' unexpected decision to exclude Queen Camilla from state and ceremonial events, all eyes were on his son rather than King Charles. And what they saw in Prince William was neither anguish nor doubt. Camilla's precarious situation was jeopardized by strategic quiet and unwavering resolve. He did not speak. He did not need to. William never issued a statement defending Camilla. He made no attempt to clarify, apologize, or advocate reconciliation. The media assumed that he was keeping his distance to avoid fueling the fire. However, insiders told something very different. This was the fire, and William had lighted the match. According to a senior royal courtier, William had reached his limit with Camilla well before the now famous confrontation with Princess Anne. Years of stress, hidden insults, backroom meddling, and personal slights against his wife and children had accumulated like dry wood ready to be burned. The dispute with Anne, in which Camilla allegedly attacked both Anne and the Queen's legacy in one angry diatribe, was only the tipping point. And when the House of Lords moved, William did not flinch. He did not stop it. In fact, several sources claimed that he welcomed it. Privately, William had long expressed concern about Camilla's expanding public image and Charles's insistence on raising her to Queen Consort rather than merely Princess Consort as originally promised. The title change, while modest, was significant, and William was aware of it. He was also aware that despite years of public relations spin and rebranding, the public had never completely embraced Camilla. However, with the Lords making a move, William now had institutional backing, which he had never had previously. Rather than question the decision, he let his quiet speak for him. In a series of engagements the week after the ban, William appeared calm, composed, and unconcerned. At a veterans ceremony, Charles shook hands and smiled, but remained silent when questioned about recent family developments. At a royal foundation function, a reporter yelled a question regarding Camilla's absence. William turned slightly and continued on. It was not disobedience, it was supremacy. For the first time, the heir to the throne behaved like a monarch in waiting, not a son, not a bystander, a future king. That move was not unnoticed inside the palace. According to insiders close to Kensington, William maintained a firm but calm energy throughout the crisis. He was alleged to have told one close advisor, "I will not be intimidated into sheltering someone who is disrespectful to my family. If this makes me frigid, so be it. I am here to protect the crown. Do not manage someone's ego." Those words, if accurate, capture the essence of William's leadership style: disciplined, uncompromising, and keenly aware of the larger picture. He recognizes that the monarchy must evolve, shed old scandals, and regain trust. To accomplish this, certain compromises must be made, even if the sacrifice is his stepmother. Perhaps most strikingly, William refused to grant Camilla a personal audience following the Lord's judgment. Despite several reported attempts by Camilla's camp to arrange a private meeting or phone call, William allegedly declined all of them. "He doesn't want another plea," one insider stated. "He wants action." And this was the action. So, as King Charles struggled with pain and responsibility, and Camilla fled in humiliation, Prince William remained firm, unmoved, unaffected, and unyielding. In the hush, the message was deafening. The future monarch had drawn a line, and this time, the line was his, not his father's. For King Charles, the last few weeks have been nothing short of heartbreaking. A man who spent decades fighting for public acceptance of the woman he loved is now caught in the crossfire between that same wife and her son, who will one day inherit his reign. And the weight of the battle is breaking him. Insiders say Charles is visibly exhausted and emotionally worn down after the House of Lords made the unusual decision to exclude Camilla from state and ceremonial duties. For a king who has always taken pride in cautious diplomacy and keeping family harmony, no matter how strained, this was a blow he was unprepared to take. According to palace sources, Charles attempted to intercede personally to arrange a truce between Camilla and William. He reportedly called his son to discuss a path forward just days after the monarchy's upheaval. But William, cool and strong, refused to compromise. "This is bigger than us, Father," William allegedly informed him. "If we keep covering for her, the crown itself will lose credibility." The remarks touched Charles hard. He understands William's acute sense of public feeling, and he can't ignore the reality that William's popularity much outstrips his own. However, siding with his son would mean abandoning the lady who supported him through decades of scandal, solitude, and unrelenting criticism. Those close to Charles say he's been unusually withdrawn in recent days, canceling several appearances under the flimsy excuse of personal matters. Behind closed doors, however, the reality is stark. He is torn between his role as a father and his duty as a husband, a position that evokes painful memories of the 1990s, when his love for Camilla clashed so publicly with his marriage to Princess Diana. Camilla, for her part, has made no secret of her displeasure with Charles's incapacity to defend her against William's growing dominance. According to palace whispers, the king and queen consort had gotten into a violent disagreement, with Camilla accusing Charles of letting history repeat itself by succumbing to public opinion once more. "You let them vilify me back then," Camilla reportedly said, referring to previous media storms, "and now you're letting your own son do the same." For Charles, the pain is exacerbated by the realization that this is more than just a family feud. It is a power fight that could define his legacy. The House of Lords ban has set a hazardous precedent, silently signaling William's expanding control over royal issues. In the view of many, Charles is no longer the monarch guiding the crown's destiny. He is the king attempting to hold together a family already shattered by history. And deep down, Charles knows what he hasn't said out loud. When the people are forced to choose between his son and his wife, the nation's loyalties has shifted away from him. Outside the golden gates of Buckingham Palace and beyond the hushed halls of Westminster, the people's voice has sounded unmistakably clear, and its message is damning. Camilla was never their queen. The House of Lords may have delivered the formal blow, but the public had already made its decision. Within hours of Camilla's official suspension from state and ceremonial activities following her heated disagreement with Prince William, social media erupted. Hashtags like #NotMyQueen, #LongLivePrincessAnne, and #WilliamForTheThrone topped trending charts in the UK and beyond. The reaction was not simply loud, it was seismic. Polls collected in the days following the disaster revealed what many in the palace had long dreaded but refused to face. More than 68% of Britons believe Camilla should never have been elected queen consort in the first place. An astounding 79% approved the House of Lords' decision to deprive her of royal powers, while an overwhelming 82% back William and Princess Anne in the issue. These statistics are not a whisper, they are a roar. "I tolerated Camilla because I had to," a woman in Manchester told ITV News. "But now, after seeing how she treated Anne, how she questioned William in that manner, she is not royalty to me, never was." For years, the monarchy took a cautious approach to rehabilitating Camilla's image, portraying her as a loving companion, a hardworking royal, and a modest supporter of the king. However, the photograph did not fully take. Diana's shadow lingered, and Camilla remained for millions the woman who shattered the fairy tale, a symbol of everything the monarchy tried to suppress. The encounter with Anne did more than just revive old scars. It exacerbated them. The optics were damning. A queen consort lashing out at the Princess Royal, one of the monarchy's most respected characters, and confronting the heir apparent in what insiders characterized as a furious, unhinged tirade. It was the final crack in an already brittle foundation. Furthermore, young Britons, who were previously regarded indifferent to the royals, have developed a special interest in the aftermath. TikTok and Instagram are swamped with videos defending William's position and applauding Anne's poise. Generation Z, many of whom were not even born during the Diana era, is rallying around the heritage of honesty and devotion that they now connect with William, Kate, and Anne, not Camilla. For the monarchy, this is more than a family feud. It's a public reckoning. Camilla's fall is more than just symbolic. It expresses the raw and unfiltered will of the people. In taverns, on the radio, and online, the consensus is clear. Camilla may have worn the crown, but she never actually owned the kingdom. In a monarchy founded on image, legacy, and duty, trust is the most sacred currency. And for Queen Camilla, who was previously reluctantly tolerated but is now publicly chastised, trust has run out. The repercussions from her private altercation with Prince William was more than simply an uncomfortable spectacle. It marked a watershed moment in modern royal history. What began as whispered concerns behind palace doors escalated into a full-fledged crisis, including the king, the House of Lords, and the people themselves. And as the dust settled, Camilla, not William or Anne, stood alone, her title intact, but her status shattered. The blow was profoundly personal to King Charles. His efforts to raise Camilla from a problematic consort to a respected queen took years. He battled for her public acceptability, supported her despite opposition, and even changed royal protocols to assure her place beside him. But even he couldn't protect her from the repercussions of a crown that must eventually serve the nation, not personal affection. The House of Lords' lifetime prohibition was more than just political theater. It was a public denial of legitimacy, a proclamation that Camilla's actions had deviated so far from royal expectations that even tradition could not save her. And William, the future king, made no effort to cushion the impact. His quiet spoke volumes. It was steely, methodical, and in sync with the weight of the crown. This event will be remembered not only as a scandal, but also as a course correction, a reminder that for all its splendor and formality, the monarchy nevertheless follows a moral compass. That service, stability, and restraint are still important. Camilla may still dwell in the palaces. Her name may be inscribed in royal programs and archives. However, she is no longer regarded as the crown's trusted consort in the eyes of the public and those in positions of authority. Instead, she is a cautionary tale of pride over prudence, of ambition over responsibility, and of a queen who lost the most important rule of all. The crown is never really yours. It can only be borrowed and must be earned every day.